The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of ParaX, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Step outside of your comfort zone. See the world with a whole new perspective. Join us and experience the unexplained on the Paranormal View.
And welcome everybody right here to the Paranormal View on the ParaX Radio Network. I want to thank everyone for being with us tonight. Those here in the chat room and those listening from around the world. We appreciate each and every one. Tonight, if you do have questions, you can private chat them to H. Foister or Ceiling Cat, and we will get those answered for you. If you're listening from somewhere else, you can come over here and join us at the paraxradionetwork.com and just click on the Chat Now button and follow the directions. You'll be in with all these wonderful people. But if you have questions and you don't want to come to the chat room, you can still send a question to theparanormalview@gmail.com, and we will get those answered for you. With that, tonight we got a good show, and we got a couple of guys. One's going to be with us for about an hour, and the other one for a couple hours. So, let's see. We got with us Barbara Duncan.
Hello, everybody.
And we got Jeffrey Gould.
Hello, hello.
And because I done missed out about 15 minutes, I'm going to let Jeff introduce our guests. So, Jeff, you want to do that?
Absolutely. Well, tonight our guests are paranormal enthusiasts and podcasters, Jason Snyder and TJ Gilbert. An event planner, promoter, and paranormal investigator. Jason grew up next door to TJ, and after 20 years, they decided to team up and share their interests, experiences, and opinions on the Firelands Podcast, covering a multitude of subjects, including but not limited to conspiracies, true crime, and all facets of the paranormal. So welcome, Jason Snyder and TJ Gilbert.
Hey, thanks for having us on.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Hello, how are you guys doing?
Doing good, and glad to have you guys on.
Good.
Thank you.
I know I've met Jason at Post Town, talked with him for a little bit there, and he's good friends with Tiffany, who we have on quite a bit, and she lives not very far from me. So, you guys, I guess, have been into the paranormal for quite a while. How long have you, each one of you, been doing investigating?
Well, I think the best thing to do would probably be start off at square one. TJ moved in next to me back when he was about 13 and I was about 15. So
I was about 15 and you were about 16, but who wants to split hairs?
Right. And this is why we have a podcast, because we split hairs all the time.
Yeah.
So basically, we became really good friends, obviously through high school and into adulthood and whatnot. And I'd moved to Fort Wayne, Indiana in 1999. Came here and set my roots. And TJ started his family, and then I started mine. And life gets in the way of a lot of things. And we've chased a lot of different avenues and ventures in both of our lives. I mean, he's become a small business owner, and I have as well. But even when we were teenagers, we were hellions. So we naturally got ourselves into a lot of situations.
Right.
And we probably did a lot of things as teenagers that we weren't supposed to do. But the main things that really excited us when we were bored was the paranormal. I mean, it wasn't just TJ and I, it was our whole circle of friends. Both of our families had experiences in the past. So, we were kind of along the lines of believers. And one of our main party spots is a place that if you've done a lot of research in Ohio, you've heard of Gore Orphanage, And that whole area back there was a huge party spot for us. Now, a lot of things that come to light about Gore Orphanage as far as the history of it and whatnot, and whether it's haunted or whether it isn't, or that area back there. We really couldn't tell you one way or the other on that. But we did spend an awful lot of time, poking sticks at things and looking for things in the dark, and it followed us into adulthood, And like I said, life gets in the way, and things happen, and then 20 years later, T and I kind of, rekindle our friendship, and so many coincidences between us and our interest still today. And we decided that we would come full circle and start a podcast.
Right.
So was there one specific incident which got you started in this?
Well, for me, I think I was like maybe 10 or 12 years old. My grandparents owned a mountain home in West Virginia, outside of Charleston. And me and my two cousins were sleeping in a van because the house was so tiny. We didn't want to sleep on the floor, so we thought we'd be adventurous and sleep in the van, my grandfather's conversion van, that night. And late at night, I got up to use the restroom, and I don't know if it's exactly what I saw or not, but I saw a light on a distant hilltop that shot off and straight up into the sky. And ever since then, it's kind of fed my interest for the paranormal, whether it be UFOs, which I think that's what I saw. Ghosts. I just couldn't get enough of it as a kid, and anything that I could read or watch or listen to, it's just been something that has always itched at me. So, and of course with Jason, his parents next door, they had a few really weird paranormal experiences in their home. And, when you have a interest like that, especially at that age, you kind of go overboard and do whatever you can to try to find, answers, I guess you'd say. And I think that's really where it started for me, was that chance sighting in the mountains of West Virginia. That's where it all started for me anyway. So,
Well, there's some good places in West Virginia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome places in West Virginia.
Well, there's a lot of dark places in West Virginia too. So,
right. Right.
There's a lot of opportunity to see things that city folk don't normally get to see.
Right. Exactly.
And for me, it was my grandmother had spent her final days in our house. My dad's mother. She was dying slowly of brain cancer, and over the period of a couple months, she was in one of the back bedrooms, and it was. I was 5 when she passed away, so I would have been in kindergarten. But when I was off, because I had half days of kindergarten, I'd spent bedside with her for many, many, many months. And she eventually went to the hospital, and then that's where she succumbed from the cancer. But it wasn't until when she passed away that things started happening in our house that our parents just really couldn't quite. So they couldn't really believe. They couldn't explain what was going on. My father was the ultimate skeptic. Okay, my mom was the ultimate believer, and it was one of those situations where it had started almost immediately after she passed away, and they weren't just little subtle things. Like, they would literally see a door open, sitting in the living room at night watching TV, they would be able to see down the hallway where the bedrooms and bathroom doors were, and they would see a bedroom door open in the back and see it close, and then would watch another bedroom door open and then close, almost like she was walking the hallways and checking on us boys as we were sleeping at night. And for me, it was waking up in the middle of the night and seeing an apparition of her standing in the living room area. We used to have this furnace that used to just blow out of the face. We didn't have ductwork in the house, so the furnace would blow out of the face in the small hallway. And so when it was cold, sometimes we'd wake up in the middle of the night and go sit in front of the furnace, in front of the heat, and it would just keep you warm. And, that's where I was at. I'd gone out, I had leaned up against the wall and sat down in front of this furnace blower, and was just getting ready to pass out. And I'd seen her clear as day. Now, even thinking back right now, I can still visualize it perfectly. So for me, that was a traumatic experience, and I talked about it. But there were other things that had happened before. A window that had slammed open and shut numerous times, say 6 or 7 times, to the point to where my father, who was the ultimate skeptic, had actually nailed the windows shut in that bedroom, and still denied that he believed that the house was haunted. And it only happened for about a few years. My parents were up late at night. They were doing taxes. They were taking care of bills. There was a box of paperwork in the middle of the table. And they were having a conversation about the things that had been going on in the house and how it had been affecting us and whatnot. And my father had just reiterated to my mom, basically, just about how he doesn't believe, and, there's a rational explanation behind it, and that it was all BS. And this box started to spin very, very slowly in its place right in the middle of the table, right in front of them. Cool. And so at that point in time, my dad turned white as a ghost, no pun intended. He was a believer at that point. I mean, he had no choice but to believe. My mother looked right at him and said, "Now do you believe us?" And he never did admit it, but it made a believer out of him. And shortly thereafter, those incidences had actually stopped. So it was a very, very short time.
Why do you think that they stopped?
Well, my mom says that my grandmother was attached to me, and judging by how the timeline of everything had actually gone down, the conversation and when things finally subsided, I really honestly believe that she just wanted to let my dad know that she was okay and that things were going to be all right. Because it was almost like when he had finally, had just broke down and just started to believe that it is what it was. All of the hauntings and all the activity had actually stopped. And so for me, that's what did it.
You was about 5 years old then?
Between 5 and 6.
Okay. And how long did your family live in the home?
Oh, my mom still lives there now. Actually, TJ's mom and my mom still live next to each other today.
Oh. Right. Wow.
Yeah. Yep. And there's been nothing reported in the house. Even my mom being the believer, she's like, my dad's now passed on, and the house has gone through a lot of different changes. It's gone through construction. It's been remodeled about 12 times. There's been no activity, But for my mom, though, she had lived in places that had activity in them. I mean, really, really blatant activity. So. She would talk about it. She would talk about it openly with us, and we never had a problem with it. We were just like, that's cool and creepy, So for me and TJ, it was just all, for the most part, it was just all about getting that rush, experiencing something. You know what I mean? It was just about us being bored and trying to get into something. Right. And that was usually it. What can we go and explore? What can we go find? Where can we go get our hands dirty? That was the thing.
So, did you guys belong to a group? I mean, did you create a paranormal group to go investigate?
I did for a short time, for a couple of years. I did a lot of investigations with a couple of close friends here in town, and I think Jason's still very much involved, but for me, it was only for a couple of years. Work and children got in the way of that, so
Well, that tends to happen, but yes. Now that you're probably a little older.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, and to go back and answer your question, TJ and I never really formally did anything together as youth. Okay, so fast forward to 1999, I moved to Fort Wayne, Indiana. So coming into like 2004, 2005, I'd had a lot of extra time on my hands, and I was in a new city that had a ton of history.
Oh, yeah.
And, so Fort Wayne, Indiana, second largest city in Indiana, so it's got a lot of history to it. And, for me, it started off as just, blogging, and, of course, the MySpace days, and talking about, hauntings with a lot of paranormal people. Myself and Keith Age have been buds for a long time. I've been friends with him for probably 16 or 17 years now.